watching Market Cafe with me, Shreyanshi Singh, and over the next half an hour, I'll take you through news and updates from within the country as well as across the globe, tell you which stocks you should keep on your radar, and tell you what the brokerages are saying. But first things first, let's take a look at the Asian markets then. In Asia Pacific markets, mostly declined on Tuesday as investors are assessing that South Korea's August inflation numbers, which eased to its lowest level on a year-on-year basis since March 2021. Now, the country's consumer price index recorded a 2% rise on a year-on-year basis. On your screens, you do have the Kospi that is up about 0.1%. Let's also take a quick look at Japan's Nikkei as well. That one was in the green last I checked, so let's take a look at what that is doing, and that is up about 0.2% as well. In contrast, you do have Australia's ASX 200. That one is the one that has losses coming in, 0.1%, downtick coming in for that one. Hang Seng as well as Shanghai. Let's take a look at what those are doing as well. Hang Seng is down about 0.5%. Let's also take a look at Shanghai, and Shanghai is also down about 0.3%. That is largely the handover that we have at this point. Let's also take a look at US markets. Now, of course, it's a truncated week on Wall Street, so on Monday, the markets were closed. But when you take a look at the monthly data coming in, it was quite the recovery that we saw the Wall Street staging when you take a look at the kind of moves that we've had coming in for the major averages that are coming off a winning session, securing a gain for the month as well. S&P 500 rose about 2.3%. In August, at one point, it was down about 7%. So that's quite the recovery coming in, at least when the month of August is concerned. And Dow as well as NASDAQ advanced 1.8% and 0.7% respectively during that period as well. Let's also take a quick look at oil then. Let's also shift over to the world of commodities and move the spotlight there. Oil prices extended losses, with investors weighing higher OPEC plus production from October against a sharp drop in output from Libya coming in as well. So that is the kind of tussle that oil markets have been going through, and there's also sluggish demand in China as well as the US that the market is keeping a very close eye on. But when you take a look at levels, you're looking at Brent crude at around a downtick of about 0.7% coming in for Brent crude. Around $76 a barrel is where that one was at. And when you take a look at US WTI as well, you're taking a look at a slip coming in of about 0.7% there as well. $73 a barrel is where the levels were, and the losses followed a 0.3% decline for Brent last week, as well as a 1.7% drop for WTI coming in. So that's the kind of handover that we had in terms of the moves last week when it comes to oil. Lastly, let's take a quick look at gold as well, because gold prices dipped as the dollar strengthened as well, while investors are, of course, awaiting that key US jobs data to firm their bets on the size of the Federal Reserve's rate cuts as well. And that is something that the gold market is keeping a very close eye on. But for now, spot gold was down about 0.3%. Around those $2,500 per ounce levels is where gold was also at. So that is the kind of handover that we have this morning as well. Now, of course, back home, when we take a look at where we close around the 25,278 levels. And currently what is being penciled in is a good start coming in, at least on a spot basis. Futures basis, not much of an uptick being penciled in, but let's see how that really pans out for us. But with that, let's also take a look at some more important news and updates. This morning, then, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing mounting pressure to secure a ceasefire deal in Gaza after hundreds of thousands of Israelis protested and went on strike. But in his first public address since the protests, Netanyahu insisted that Israel must maintain control of the Philadelphia corridor, a strategic area along Gaza's border with Egypt, to prevent Hamas from smuggling weapons. Now, despite US President Joe Biden's criticism that Netanyahu is not doing enough to free hostages held by Hamas, the Israeli leader remains resolute, saying, "No one will preach to me." Moving on, then, the UK has suspended 30 arms export licenses to Israel, citing concerns they could be used to breach international law in the conflict with Hamas in Gaza. British Foreign Minister David Lammy also stressed it's not a blanket ban on arms embargo, but a targeted measure to prevent potential violations of humanitarian law. The UK will continue to support Israel's right to self-defense, and that is the word coming in from him as well. Moving on, then, Volkswagen has warned it may be forced to close plants in Germany due to major cost-cutting measures needed to future-proof the company. The car maker is ending its employment protection agreement in place since 1994, as CEO Thomas Schaffer says. The situation is, quote, extremely tense, end quote, and cannot be resolved with simple cost-cutting. Volkswagen cited increased competition, a tough economic environment, as well as Germany's declining competitiveness as reasons for the drastic measures coming in as well. Onto some data then. China's manufacturing sector is showing signs of life. The Caixin PMI jumped to 50.4 in August, beating forecasts as new orders drove production growth, as well as employment stabilized after an 11-month slump coming in for that. However, foreign demand dipped for the first time this year, and supply chains faced constraints as well. Input prices fell and firms also offered discounts to stay competitive. But business sentiment hit a 3-month high on hopes of an economic upswing coming in as well. Moving on to more macro updates from other EMs then, inflation in South Korea hit a 3.5-year low, slowing to 2% in August. Like I mentioned, matching market expectations as well as paving the way for potential interest rate cuts. Meanwhile, Turkey's GDP growth slowed sharply to 2.5% in Q2 as well, the smallest gain coming in 4 years there, as household spending as well as government expenditure slumped. Now, in Brazil, you do have factory activity that slowed to a yearly low coming in as well, with the manufacturing PMI falling to 50.4 in August, as rising cost pressure as well as fading demand led to reduced production despite strong business confidence as well as employment growth. So that's some macroeconomic updates for you right there. But moving on then, in a major boost to the agri sector, the government has approved projects worth nearly 14,000 crores. The 7 projects include the much anticipated Digital Agriculture Mission, which will also include the development of an agri stack to serve as a comprehensive database to detailed records of farmers' land usage as well as crop patterns. So that's an important update coming in there. And here's what we got from the INB Minister Ashwini Vaishnav from the briefing as well.
डिजिटल एग्रीकल्चर मिशन बेसिकली जो डीपीआई का स्ट्रक्चर है, डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का स्ट्रक्चर है, उसी आधार पे एग्रीकल्चर के लिए इसका डेवलपमेंट किया जा रहा है. कुछ अच्छे पायलट प्रोजेक्ट्स हुए हैं, बहुत अच्छी सक्सेस मिली है. उसके आधार पे आज डिजिटल एग्रीकल्चर मिशन 2817 करोड़ रुपीस की टोटल इन्वेस्टमेंट से ये बनेगा. इसमें 2 फाउंडेशनल पिलर्स रहेंगे. एक रहेगा एग्री स्टैक, दूसरा रहेगा कृषि डिसीजन सपोर्ट सिस्टम. क्लाइमेट चेंज का प्रभाव पूरी दुनिया भर में पड़ रहा है, तो क्लाइमेट रेजिलिएंट क्रॉप साइंसेज और फूड सिक्योरिटी और न्यूट्रिशनल सिक्योरिटी फॉर 2047, उसको ध्यान में रखते हुए 6 पिलर्स इसमें रखे गए इस प्रोग्राम में. ये 3,979 करोड़ रुपीस का प्रोग्राम है. 3,979 करोड़ रुपीस का प्रोग्राम है.
Then moving on, in a recent move, SEBI has also approved an increase in NSE's authorized equity share capital to 500 crores. Ankur Mishra is joining in on the phone line with more details with us. Ankur?
Yes, in a move seen as precursor to its IPO, National Stock Exchange has got SEBI's approval for increasing the authorized capital. Now they want to increase the authorized capital from 50 crore to 500 crore, and that has already been approved by the board. And now SEBI on 2nd of September has also given its go-ahead for it. What does it mean? It means that ahead of its IPO plan, the company wants to increase its base, it wants to add more investors, and hence typically we have seen that these kind of moves are adopted by companies before fundraising, before going ahead with IPOs, and now NSE is also doing the same, and SEBI has approved this move of National Stock Exchange. Remember, last week only an application was filed as NOC with the SEBI, and this was regarding this IPO applications. It has already started the process, a renewed process, in fact, after much of the difficulty which it has faced over the years due to legal hurdles. But after SEBI had asked and in fact given an affidavit in the High Court saying that there is no NOC which has been received by NSE till now, NSE has renewed its interest to start the IPO. It is once again filed NOC for IPO application, and now we need to wait and see how soon the market regulator actually approves the application and finally NSE hits the floors.
All right, thanks Ankur for joining us with that update bright and early this morning. But while you're with us, JSW Cement's 4,000 crore IPO has also hit a roadblock after the SEBI has put it on hold. The details about why the IPO has been kept in abeyance were not provided. But what does this really mean for JSW Cement? Tell us a little more about this. Have we learned anything on why the IPO has been put on hold, and now when is the company looking at filing a fresh application as well?
Yes, market regulator SEBI has put JSW Cement IPO on hold for now. What we have understood is that this IPO is kept under abeyance and no specific reason has been given by the regulator for doing so. Generally, we have seen as a process sometimes market regulator asks questions to the company, and upon satisfactory answers only this process goes ahead, and sometimes when the satisfactory answers are not there, the IPOs are kept in abeyance. But for now, no specific reason has been given by SEBI. JM Financial is the advisor to the issue, and in the month of August only this IPO papers were filed to SEBI, and now just before a month is almost completed, this IPO has been kept in abeyance. As far as the process is concerned, we understand that 4,000 crore IPO was in process, and 2,000 crore was issue of new equity, and another 2,000 equity was kept for OFS. Now we need to wait and see how soon the company actually responds to the queries which has been raised by SEBI, and the IPO gets back on track.
All right, and we'll wait and watch when that happens. Ankur, thank you so much for joining us with that update. Let's get you some important commentary coming in then. And talks with the government on stake dilution are in advanced stages. And that's the word coming in from IREDA top boss Pradeep Kumar Das. In fact, my colleague Anurag Shah also talked to him about exploring overseas markets to lower borrowing costs as well. Listen into a slice of that conversation then.
Last 6 months we are seeing there is a slight reduction in the cost of fund.
Okay. And sir, for this
But yes, definitely 4 years back or 3 years back, 2 years back, what cost of fund was, it is gone up now.
And sir, for this financial year, how much target you are targeting for this financial year, for the loan book you are targeting this year?
See, we never focused on loan book, we focused on discipline. Our borrowing, what we have already announced, going to be from debt market around 24,000 crore and from equity market around 4,500, but that finally we will decide after having a kind of deep down interaction with the BRLM and others. Because first we are seeking the government of India's approval for allowing us natural dilution of their stake up to 10%. Now we will be visiting to the overseas market to further bring down the borrowing cost. And once our GIFT City is in operation, we can enable that overseas funding through that office so that the developer gets at least reduction in that overseas funding to the tune of 3 to 4%, and which is a big amount.
So you're suggesting that the present government share may get down going ahead?
Yeah. We have requested to allow us up to 7%. So right now it is 75%. Now final exact percentage what they are going to allow, they are going to communicate us. There is a process that is in advanced stage. So maybe within a couple of weeks you may get exact news on that.
All right, well, that's some important commentary coming in from IREDA's top boss then, but it's time for a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at some more stock-specific news, so you don't go anywhere. For us, in fact, speaking of stocks, then we have Riya who's also standing by with a list of stocks that you should keep on your radar then.
Yes, good morning. So let's take a look at the stocks that are going to be in focus today. So first up, we have Brigade Enterprises, which has approved a QIP with a floor price of rupees 1,164.7, which is a 6% discount to the current market price. And they're looking to raise about 1,500 crores. These funds are going to be used for debt repayment and land acquisition. And IIFL Securities and Kotak Mahindra Capital are the bankers for the issue. We also have Aditya Birla Fashion and Retail, which has announced a board meeting to be held on the 5th of September to consider fundraising. Let's move on though to NMDC Limited, which has announced the production and sales of their iron ores for the month of August 24. The production has come in at 3.07 metric tons versus 3.41 metric tons in August of 2023, and the total sales have come in for August of 2024 at 3.14 metric tons versus 3.54 metric tons in August of 2023. We also have Uno Minda, which has approved the acquisition of 49% equity shares of Minda Naptesco Automotive Limited from Naptesco Automotive Corporation in Japan. Now, the company is engaged in the business of designing, developing and manufacturing of all classes and types of automotive parts, and post the acquisition it shall become an associate company of Uno Minda Limited. Lastly, we have Crompton Greaves Consumer Electricals, which has said that they are going to provide lighting solutions with its high performance LED street lights for Bangalore Satellite Town Ring Road.
For that update coming in. So there you have it. Those are the list of stocks that you should keep an eye on bright and early this morning. But we also have Gaurav standing by with the list of the stocks that are on brokerage radar this morning then.
Well, yes. First, let's talk about GMR Power, because BNK has initiated with buy rating and a target price of 184 rupees on this stock. What they believe is that the company is actually getting support from the thermal power support from the government, which can actually help the company to grow further. They are diversifying their portfolio with smart meters. They are actually strengthening their balance sheet, and on back of this, they are being a little bullish on GMR Power. Next, let's talk about Aadhar Housing, because Kotak Securities initiated with buy rating and a target price of 550 rupees on this counter. We have already seen Aadhar Housing growing at a CAGR of around 21% previously, and from here on also Kotak Securities believes that the company can actually deliver 21% CAGR in the next 3 years, and on the back of the strong performance, any kind of large sell-off which could come from the large PE could be absorbed in the stock price, and that is why they are being bullish on this counter. Lastly, let's also watch out for Tech Mahindra, because Citi has maintained sell rating with a target price of 1260 rupees. Now, what company is saying is that they will be focusing on 15% EBIT margin in the coming quarters, but what Citi believes is that there are some challenges for the company in the quarters ahead. BFSI is improving, but at a slower and gradual pace, and at the same time, when we look at the valuation of Tech Mahindra, it is trading at 25 times price to earnings, which is actually a little at an expensive side, and that is why they have maintained sell rating with a target price of 1260 rupees. So definitely watching out on all these counters on the back of the brokerage note that we have received today on these counters.
Well, absolutely. Thanks, Gaurav, for joining in with that update. But with that, we're completely out of time on this edition of Market Cafe on ET Now. From me, Shreyansi Singh, as well as the entire team that put this show together. Thank you so much for tuning in. You don't go anywhere, because the market takes all of the action forward.